In today's show, guest host Mike Hogan from the Travel Guys chats with Rachel Mackey about the Cook Islands. The Smarter Mortgage lady Rachel Thompson shares tips for first home buyers. We take a second look at luxurious staycation spot the Doubletree by Hilton in Karaka. And finally, Real Housewife of Auckland Anne Batley Burton shares another champagne etiquette tip.
Planning your next post-COVID vacation? Be prepared with the help and expert advice of the Travel Guys.
Hello and welcome to the Travel Guys. I'm Mike Hogan, and today our guest is Rachel Mackey, Marketing Manager for Cook Islands Tourism. Welcome, Rach.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. Now, we're going to talk Cook Islands and Rarotonga. I say that jokingly because I've actually had people say to me, I've been to Rarotonga, but I've never been to the Cooks. Do you get that sort of feeling?
We get that a lot.
Yeah.
The Cook Islands is actually made up of 15 islands. 15?
I did not know that.
They are spread across the Northern Group and Southern Group. Yeah. And the most visited is the island of Rarotonga, followed by Aitutaki and Attu.
Attu.
Just like a sneeze.
A mystical little place, Attu, isn't it?
It's amazing. Yeah, we'll really lovely.
But Rarotonga, of course, is the main island. It's where the main township and where all the flights land. But speaking of flights, how's the access these days post-COVID? The flight services are back up and running? Yes.
So we're really lucky. We maintained the services of Air New Zealand right through COVID. They are now back flying almost daily out of Auckland, and sometimes they have 2 or 3 flights a day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's really good for us. Their flights also connect with their domestic network throughout New Zealand as well. So it's not just about the travellers from Auckland. We can obviously accommodate people throughout New Zealand on those Air New Zealand flights. And we also have Jetstar now flying as well. So they returned to the market on the 2nd of June this year, and they are offering 3 flights per week currently from Auckland to Rarotonga.
That's fantastic. I honestly didn't realise that the access was so great. And did I read something recently that either a service that has started or is starting going to Tahiti as well, linking to Tahiti?
That's correct. So we have a service from Rarotonga to Tahiti, and that is allowing travellers from the Northern Hemisphere to get to Rarotonga by going via Tahiti instead of having to come all the way to New Zealand and then backtrack to the Cook Islands.
Great. I mean, I remember reading years ago about New Zealand's fabled coral route where they're playing with meander from one side of the Pacific to the other.
Yes.
And they used to land in Aitutaki. I remember the old seaplanes did. Yes.
They did. And when you visit Aitutaki, you can go and see where that old coral route is.
Wow. I've actually read some great stories about it. We've talked about access. Requirements now post-COVID, that dreaded C word.
Yep. So we are following the rest of the world with regards to reducing the amount of requirements to enter the Cook Islands. So currently you just need to be fully vaccinated, which is your 2 shots. You do not need the booster shot to be considered fully vaccinated. And that only applies to those that are aged 16 and over. So children that are under 16 do not need to be vaccinated to enter the Cook Islands. That requirement is currently under review, and so we are hoping for an update on that from the Cook Islands government, hopefully in the coming months, and that whole requirement may be dropped.
Cool. Well, fingers crossed on that one.
Fingers crossed. We just want to be one of the easiest destinations for Kiwis to travel to.
You always have been.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep it up.
We'll keep that up.
Okay. I would imagine COVID, stating the obvious, must have had a heck of an effect on the island itself, the accommodation, because it's so reliant on tourism. How are they rebounding now? How have they coped, I should say, over the last 2 years?
So it was certainly very, very tough. A lot of the resorts were offering great deals to the locals that were obviously still on the island. We had staycation deals for everybody, so it was like a holiday at home for them. Now that the island is back open, we are welcoming a flood of visitors, which is fantastic, really helping to rebuild the economy. We were super lucky in the fact that we didn't lose any accommodation operators permanently due to COVID.
Wow, that's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
So all of the favourites that you knew and loved from previous COVID times, those are all still available for booking. Okay. And all of the restaurants and activity operators are still open as well.
Trader Jack's is still going?
Trader Jack's is still going, Mike. Yes, your favourite. Yep.
I might have had the odd beer or 2 there over the years, just 1 or 2.
So not only are the old favourites there with regards to restaurants and cafes, we've got a couple of new ones that have opened over the COVID period as well. So we now have, I think, either close to or over 100 restaurants, bars and cafes cafes that people can visit in Rarotonga.
Yeah, that's what was made, or I felt it made the cooks of Rarotonga. I can't say the word unique, but very special in that you've got to have such a range of accommodation and a range of eateries and things to do. And I've often talked to people about the fact that Rarotonga, albeit being 32 k's around, I got that right now, didn't I?
You did.
It's good. Being 32 k's around is really it's almost, you can be talked about as a resort in itself.
That's correct. We often do refer to Rarotonga as one big resort.
Yeah.
You have the freedom to get out and about, experience all the different restaurants, bars and cafes. You're not resort bound, meaning that you're not subject to resort pricing as well, which is really good.
So let's talk about Rarotonga. 32 k's around. There's a really good road that goes around the island, and you think the left is one way and right's the other way for the bus service.
Yeah, so we have 2 buses. One goes clockwise and one goes anti-clockwise. So we say that you can't take the wrong bus, you just take the scenic route instead of going the wrong way.
Yes, so if you want to go to there, you could go right round to get there.
You could go right round, enjoy all the sights, and then still arrive at your destination.
Albeit a little bit late.
A little bit late, but you'll get there.
That's very cool. And the township of Avarua, how big is it? How many people?
So the whole island of Rarotonga's population is, I think, around about 14,000. That may have changed slightly over COVID. But so as you can see, the whole island is small and it's not heavily populated.
No.
You'll always be able to get a car park in town and get a seat at your favourite restaurant. Over the peak periods, we recommend that you do book in advance just to make sure.
Okay, I might ask you about your favourite restaurant if you're allowed to have favourites, so you might have to be a bit delicate with that one. But getting around, we mentioned the buses, you mentioned driving. So getting around as a tourist? Getting
around is super easy. When you arrive at the airport, you can pre-book a transfer to take you to your resort. You can pick up a rental car and there are taxis available as well. So once you've arrived, it's super easy to get to your accommodation. And of course, with the island being so small, nowhere's more than 30 minutes away, unless you've gone the wrong way, of course.
Scooters, they used to have lots of scooters on the island.
Yes, so that's still definitely a real highlight. You do need to have a motorcycle licence in New Zealand, so as you can hire a scooter in the Cook Islands, or you can sit a theory and practical test whilst you're in Rarotonga, and that will give you a visitor's licence, so you can drive a scooter whilst you're there.
Okay. Which I think it's really important to stress that, but also I've mentioned to people, you've got to be a little bit careful. You've got to take... Yes, you're on a scooter, and if you fall off a scooter, you can hurt yourself. So very much...
We call it a Raro tattoo. If you've fallen off your scooter, you can see the grazes. People still need to realise that they are on the road. Yes, they're on holiday, but they need to be super careful. Our roads are not like New Zealand roads. We have a few hidden hazards, such as chickens running out on the road that you need to dodge. But generally, so long as you're safe and obviously you definitely wear your helmet, then it's a great way to get around.
Well, Rach, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure having you on board. For people who wanted to find out more information about the cooks, where would you direct them?
Visit our website, which is cookislands.travel, or go to your local travel professional.
Great. Thanks again, Rach.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Rachel, the Smarter Mortgage Lady, and I love helping people get into their own place to call home. There's been a lot of talk in the media about the Bank of Mum and Dad, which is becoming more and more popular for first home buyers who are finding it challenging to get their deposit together right now. If you're a parent wanting to do the best for your kids, here's some important information you should consider before jumping into helping them out. Firstly, let's talk about your own home. Just because you have equity, it doesn't mean you can use it. You need to make sure that you or your children have sufficient income to service that equity and make payments on time. Secondly, you will need a team of professionals to help you. Ideally, mum and dad and the kids would keep their worlds separate and involve a good lawyer to sort out your terms and conditions of the assistance to protect both you, your family and the asset. Should you choose to jointly own their property with your children, This may classify it as a business, so you will need an accountant to help you through this process because of the associated tax liabilities. Also, working with an accountant gives you the audit trail you need and supports your ability to get a tax-efficient mortgage solution, something that is super important for all parties involved. Thirdly, come and talk to me. The rules are continuously changing around how much lending you can get, based on whether it's a new build as an example, and let's be honest, when it comes to family and finances, the conversations can sometimes be a little challenging. I know because I've been through the process myself. My final piece of advice: the numbers can be tough and confusing, so talk to a professional. Whether it's an investment purchase or you are providing deposit assistance to your family, being the bank of mum and dad can be complicated. So my job is to step you and your children through the whole process while mitigating and spreading both financial risk and family challenges. Again, having gone through it all myself, a positive outcome for all is possible. Whether you're considering the possibility of supporting your kids or you're ready to dive in and help them get into their own place to call home, now is the perfect time to reach out. My services are free, so get in touch and let's see what's possible.
Well, hi, it's Monique here, and here's part 2 of my staycation at the Doubletree by Hilton. I recently chatted with marketing manager Irene to learn more about this great venue and celebrity chef Mark Southern, who runs the restaurant. Let's take a look.
So I've worked in a few hotels in the Pacific, Fiji, Samoa, and my first New Zealand property. What I love about it is that it's different from the usual beach hotel that I'm used to, because both in Samoa and Fiji, the hotels I've worked to are on the beach with the nice, blue skies, and that's a different kind of beauty. But the beauty that I found here and having experience staying in the city hotels is that, yes, we're in Auckland, but we're 35 minutes away from the CDB, and it just feels like you're transported to a different world because we're on the New Zealand Bloodstock grounds. The sales center is just next door, and the grounds is just beautiful, I think, and I feel. So the team's great. It's a beautiful small property, 122 rooms. We have a heated pool. Our restaurant's gaining attention. So there's just everything to love about it. I think it's the warmth, hospitality, and that's a testament to Doubletree, the brand itself, and the training that our team members get from the brand and from our HR team. The warmth, and also from the team members themselves. I think our HR team have done a fabulous job in hiring the right people for the roles. We get our team members being recognized by name, which is fantastic. The service that they're providing, it's again to the training and to their leaders. We get told about the location, again, like I mentioned earlier, the location that we're at, the services we provide, the food. We've been getting quite a few comments on the food and how good the foods are. The room, and being a brand new property, it's kind of, a bonus for us because they're brand new, right? And then we have, in the rooms, we have little touches that have little nods to the horsing industry. So when people notice that, it's unique. It's a unique feature to have. That gives a little nods to our owners. So our owners have done a fabulous job with the design concept of the hotel. The carpets, you'll see they're like the blankets that you throw over the horses. Yeah, so the walls, you've got some that are pitted. I hope I'm saying that right. And harrow lines. So harrow lines are when they rake the race course. And you see that look like harrow lines in the bathroom. So those are little nods as well to the horsing industry. We have pictures of the horses in every room. Our signs, a little, the horse saddles, and our conference centers. If you go into our conference center, you'll see that the ceiling lights are shapes of hats. So again, just little nods here and there. Karaka is a really cool rural area that's developing, and it's just outside, 35 minutes away from the CDB. And just look around you, you'll see, we're in the middle of, pine trees and beautiful forests. We have Clevedon markets. They operate on Sundays, which is awesome. I've taken my child there and it's just beautiful. You just get out and have a little picnic. There's also the beach, which is another 20 minutes from there. And then there's some natural waterfalls that we can go for walks in. You have Spookers down the road, and it's very close to just jetting across to the museum, to go to the zoo, and to Rainbow's End. So I mean, it's a nice little hub, and you can go and do all the stuff in the city, and then come back in the afternoon and have a swim in the pool and just sit back and relax, like you're actually on a proper vacation. Well, you're gonna meet Mark tonight, and Mark will be able to elaborate more on it, but he's come up with a fabulous concept of connecting with the local farmers around us to be able to bring farm to plate sort of concept with fresh ingredients, New Zealand ingredients. And he has really created a beautiful menu, and I'll let him talk to it. But one thing I did want to mention while I'm here is that on property we do have our own little bees that produce the honeys that we serve to our guests. So, you know, we're trying to keep everything local. We're trying to keep it very sustainable. So, yeah, I mean, you're gonna try it tonight, and I hope you enjoy it, and let me know what you think.
Ethereal Restaurant is a great place to share with family and friends or for a business meeting. Dotted with nods to the racing industry, including featuring an actual winning Melbourne Cup, they even have their own gin named after winning horse Ethereal.
For people who don't know you, which is probably about 1% of the population, tell us about your background with food.
Right, so I've been in New Zealand for about 15, 16 years now. So I came from Australia and then originally from the UK. So learned my trade back in the UK, chefing around, a bit around Europe, then into Australia, and then came to New Zealand. So started in Queenstown, came to Auckland, worked with Simon and Craig at the French Cafe, then set up the food store. So we did that down at the Viaduct for about 5-6 years, and then went to a Conn Street Bistro, and now to the Hilton Karaka. I just love it's just the passion of the builds. I mean, throughout the hotel, it's the passion. The architecture, the design of it, the attention to detail in the restaurant, just all those things has just really come together. You know, got beautiful outdoor pools. You know, it's nicely landscaped outside. We've got Beehive as well, which we put out there. You know, and it's very in tune with New Zealand Bloodstock, who obviously are our owners and our bosses. And there's lots of little nods throughout the hotel if you look carefully to the horses, you know, pictures and loads of little things as well, which I'm not going to tell you about now. So when you come, you can sort of see them, and it's just really cozy and relaxed as well. It's like feels like you're in the country. It feels like you're at a family home in the country, you know, away from the city, and it's just nice and relaxing. Right, so we've got beautiful menu, and because we're out of the city, we're in the country, we really focus on those sort of artisan producers. You know, so there's a lot of producers around here. You know, we're in South Auckland, stone's throw away from the hotel. You know, which we really showcase on the menu. You know, Cleveland's just around the corner, just over the bridge just beyond Papakura. Oysters, beautiful oysters there. Cleveland buffalo. I've had a relationship with them for ages, and you know, I've used them in all the restaurants since they've been operating. But they've got the herd in Cleveland, and they actually produce it just across the bridge. They're literally a minute drive from here, where they make all the cheeses and the yogurts and the milks. So it's a great connection there. And you know, we're in prime growing country. Like, if you ask people from Pukekohe as well about the soil here, it's like best in the world. You know, we get all our potatoes from here, all our vegetables, you know, and it's really good. And we like to showcase that as well. Pocono bacon. So I live in Pocono, which is 15 minutes down the road. Great bacon, great ice creams, great black pudding. So you know, they feature quite heavily on the menu through breakfast, through the dinner menu as well, like the black pudding. So it's really good as well. We've got a beehive, as I said before. You know, we have the bees around here. We get the honey. You know, we put that into the menu as well. So it's exciting. It's got to be from the ingredient. So you know, find a new ingredient or a really good ingredient, and you create a dish around that. You know, it's as simple as that. I mean, you can only make really good food with, you know, you've got to start with good ingredients. You know, you can't polish a turd. well, truffle oil you can, as some of our friends say. You know, you can polish a turd with truffle oil, but other than that, it's you know, it's like the meat here. You know, we start with a really good quality meat, and then we showcase it. You know, so I wanted to do a menu. I still wanted to do that a la carte and bring those ingredients in and have that bit of creativity. But then I also wanted to just have a, you know, just somewhere to go and have a really good steak. You know, because that's really hard to find these days. You know, just something simple, good meat, cooked well. You know, and nice sauces. But I didn't want it to be a steakhouse. So we got the best of both worlds. So we got those two menus running, and we got some fantastic meat. So I'll show you that a bit later. And you know, all New Zealand meats, but grass-fed, grain-fed, different breeds. You know, so customers can sort of, like, you know, educate themselves about it, and they can taste it. You know, they can taste the differences. You know, we've got New Zealand grass-fed Wagyu, which is really nice as well. You get a nice richness there, or grain-fed Scotch as well. We've got on. So that's great, and then we've got this fantastic aging fridge as well. So we're really pushing the boundaries on how many weeks we can age it, and then, you know, just noticing the different texture and the flavours from that. And then I've tried recently, we're aging it in beef fat as well, because we render a lot of beef fat down every week, and we make a hollandaise with the beef fat, which is something a little bit different. That's not good if you're watching your waist, but it's very tasty. And so I've got two different cuts of meat there, like actually encased in hard beef fat as well. So that's slowly aging. So, you know, we're going to keep trying that and seeing how, you know, what the optimum aging sort of time is, you know, to see how it changes the flavour.
Well, one of my other favourite culinary moments, aside from my amazing dinner, was the breakfast. With a great selection of continental and cooked items, it was the perfect way to end my staycation.
Hi everyone, it's me, Champagne Lady, and here again, giving you some more tips and information on choosing the right champagne. Very important to recognise that not all champagnes are created equally. There are lots of reasons why one champagne is better than another. For example, we have different levels of grapes. We have the Grand Cru, we have the Premier Cru, and we have the Village basic levels of grapes. And that depends on their position, whether it's higher on the slopes, whether it's facing the sun, whether it's on the flat, whatever it happens to be. It also depends on the pressing. There's a number of squeezes of the grape. Obviously, the first squeeze of the grape is going to be the best, because that is going to give you the finest, the most delicate, the juice that is going to go on to make the champagne. It's going to be the finest quality. Then we have to determine whether or not it's aged for a certain period of time. How long is it being aged before disgorgement? The minimum period of time for a champagne to be in the bottle before disgorgement is 15 months for it to be called champagne. So if it pops out at 12 months, it's not champagne, regardless of the fact it's in the Champagne region. So 15 months for the basics. Now, as for an example, my Champagne Jacquard, even for the Brut Mosaic, it's aged 3 to 4 years before disgorgement. You can imagine the extra complexity that is developed in that champagne. For a vintage, it could be 5 to 7 years. So imagine the character and complexity in that bottle. And of course, the amount of time that has been spent with that bottle sitting there, with somebody riddling it, twisting that bottle every day. They have machinery that does it too now, but there are still certain sellers that are still riddling it by hand every day. Imagine the time and cost needed to produce that bottle. So these are the factors as to why one champagne costs more than another. As I said before, you've got the Grand Cru, Premier Cru and so on, and the grapes, what they do, they set the grape price per kilo. A Grand Cru is 100%. So if, say, it was 12 euros per kilo, that would be the cost for a Grand Cru. A Premier Cru might be 90% of that. A Village might be 80% of that. I'm not sure of those figures. But the point is that the cost is different. So when you're looking at a bottle of champagne, think about all those factors. Don't just think, oh yes, well I could see this one at only $49 down there. Oh, that one's $120, so that's obviously a rip-off. Not necessarily. It could be because it is far better, far more complex, a lot more time and effort and quality is in that bottle. And don't forget, of course, when there's a vintage, every few years they decide that it's going to be a vintage because it's a particularly good year and it is the grapes from only that year. Now obviously that champagne is going to be a lot more expensive and it's going to last a lot longer as well. You can keep a really good quality vintage champagne up to 10 years and still have its wonderful effervescence and finesse. Whereas if you had they always say the best time to drink a non-vintage bottle of champagne is the moment you get it. Because as a consumer, you have no idea how long it's been sitting on the shelf in that shop. You have no idea how long the distributor, the importer, has had it sitting in their warehouse. You don't know when it was disgorged. Could have been sitting there for 10 years for all you know. And it doesn't develop and improve over time. So the moment you get that bottle of champagne given to you, that non-vintage bottle, I suggest you drink it right now. And as always, please drink responsibly. Cheers.